Hanse, good evening. I'm Chris Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. This week, the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations responded to the forensic audit conducted by Indigenous Services Canada and KPMG. Indigenous Services Canada has now issued an updated statement. Earlier this week, the FSIN released a 10-page fact sheet and claimed they had asked ISC for a full copy of the forensic audit. ISC initially told media they never received such a request. In a news statement emailed to APTN National News on Friday, ISC backtracked and confirmed they had indeed received the request from FSIN. However, the department said they do not provide full copies of forensic audits to funding recipients because they contain, quote, sensitive information. ISC says they will provide FSIN with a line-by-line summary of the audit. APTN has reached out to the FSIN's chief, Bobby Cameron, for comment, but we have still not heard back. A chief in Manitoba says issues within his First Nations Child and Family Services Agency are creating safety risks for the children they are supposed to protect. Peguis First Nation Chief Stanley Bird is calling for the termination of his community's Child and Family Services Coordination Agreement with the federal and Manitoba governments. He says there is no support or voice for the children in Peguis CFS as a result of a lack of oversight for the system. The 2020 passing of Bill C-92 recognized the rights of Indigenous governments to have jurisdiction over CFS for their communities. But Bird says concerns from Peguis families and children alike tell him the agreement has failed to meet the standards of safety and transparency. He wants to create a new agreement with higher standards for accountability.
There's no accountability and there's no transparency. Many families have called me saying the agency won't even talk to them. Children themselves are calling our office and asking for help because they've been turned away from the agency, by the agency. And when they call the Children's Advocate Office, they're told that she has no jurisdiction. This leaves our kids with nowhere to go. And unlike the rest of Manitoba, there's no proper oversight, there's no proper checks, and there's no independent review.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has announced the province will be the proponent of a new pipeline to the West Coast. The proposed project is already being met with opposition. However, the Pro-Resource Development National Coalition of Chiefs is backing the plan. Dale Swampy is the founder and CEO of the National Coalition of Chiefs. APTN's Dennis Ward recently spoke with Swampy. Here's that interview.
Dale, appreciate you taking some time here for us. Danielle Smith has announced the province of Alberta will be taking the lead on a proposed pipeline project to British Columbia's northwest coast. It's a project you and the National Coalition of Chiefs are backing. Can you tell us why you think this is a good project?
Well, our organization was actually conceived from the Northern Gateway project. The first board that we had were board members that were part of the 31 out of 40 communities along the right-of-way that started the Aboriginal Equity Partners on Northern Gateway. And they were First Nation and Métis communities that agreed to become owners of the project. So we've been trying to ramp up Northern Gateway 2.0 for quite some time now, and we're glad to see the federal government and the provinces, especially Alberta, is moving forward with it.
Well, BC Premier David Eby told reporters that Danielle Smith doesn't have a real project because the proposal, quote, is entirely taxpayer funded and has no private sector proponent. Other than the Alberta government contributing $14 million for this proposal, are there any companies signing contracts or investing in this proposed project?
Well, I think everybody's doing the wait to see. 14 million is out there to do some of the feed study work and to consult with First Nations. I think the province will be surprised at the amount of support that they'll get along the right of way. You got to remember the the communities that filed actions against them that are opposed to the project are not along the right-of-way. And the 31 out of the 40 communities that signed on are on the right-of-way and have always wanted to move forward with this project because they were scheduled to get $2 billion in benefits over 30 years, including 1/3 ownership in the pipeline. So not only did they get shareholder returns on owning the pipeline, but they'd have seats on the board to be able to manage and monitor the pipeline and make sure that all the integrity, safety systems, and environmental protection plans are properly maintained.
In addition to the BC Premier, First Nations along the coast of British Columbia are already speaking out about the proposed project. Do you think things will be different this time around?
Well, I think that there's a lot of talk about getting rid of, the tanker ban to, because in a sense it's rather hypocritical because there are some 250 ships sailing across the coast of Haida coming from Alaska, Asia, going to Alaska, going to Asia. And a lot of these ships are already loaded with oil and gas. So it doesn't make any sense that you would, cripple only the Canadian tankers while all of these other tankers are going by the coast. And the integrity systems, the safety systems, the anti-spill systems for these ships, they're all double layered and so forth. There hasn't been a spill in the world in decades, so I think the risk is minimal. I can understand their concern, of course, but we are, as a group, fighting, as you know, to defeat unreserved poverty. We think that as many as 60% of our people are in, the lower class level of income, and we want to get them out, get them employed, and take advantage of the prosperity that exists in our natural resource industry. And this is a perfect time to do that when the federal government has promised not to stop a lot of these natural resource projects from moving forward. So we're hoping that Northern Gateway 2.0 is one of them, and that we can get that going as soon as possible. We think about the prosperity that can be gained from this, and if the federal government really wants to diversify the market for its oil and gas, it's got to build the projects like this.
Dale, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time for us here today to talk about this.
You bet.
The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak, says she plans to press hate crime charges against the leader of the People's Party of Canada. Let's bring you up to speed. In a social media post made on Wednesday, AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak said she is reporting the People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier to the authorities and wants to charge him with a hate crime for residential school denialism. This comes after Bernier made this post on September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. In it, Bernier says no bodies of residential school students were found. He says calling the residential school system a genocide is a hoax, and he wants reconciliation to require an end to the BS, the victim mentality, the fake white guilt, and drifting. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called Canada's residential school system a cultural genocide after it was barred from using the term genocide. And in 2022, the late Pope Francis called that same system a genocide. And about 3 months later that same year, Parliament backtracked and called the residential school system also a genocide. In a statement, National Chief Woodhouse-Nepenak wrote, "Residential school denialism cannot be put aside. It is a crime in Canada to deny the Holocaust happened. The same needs to happen for our people who went through residential school. We need parliamentarians and senators to protect residential school survivors from hate speech." Woodhouse-Nepenak says she wants a bill passed to fight residential school denialism. like Bill C-413, a federal bill that would do just that. It, however, died on the order paper when former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau prorogued Parliament on January 6th. In a statement to APTN News, the AFN confirms they have reached out to the RCMP and called for an investigation into Bernier's actions. APTN News also reached out to Bernier's staff for comment. They stand by Bernier's original post, and Bernier added, "Chief Woodhouse-Nepanak reacts like a typical petty tyrant who thinks they can use state coercion to shut down political opponents and people they disagree with. Nothing I wrote can be considered hate crime under current Canadian law, at least until new censorship laws are adopted by the Carney government." APTN News will continue to follow this story. We have more news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Mohawk community of Kahnawake is unveiling a new cultural arts center next year. Kahnawake launched the last phase of their funding campaign, stating the center is near completion. Our APTN reporter Savannah Craig visited the site and spoke with those involved in the project who say the center is much more than just a building.
When you look up, we're also going to have the celestial sky, our creation story of sky, woman, falling. You're going to see the 7 dancers in there, everything has been thought to us.
For Lisa Phillips, it's been a long-time dream to open a new cultural center in Kahnawake, and now it will become a reality.
40 years of a dream means 40 years of working, right?
For the last 26 years, she's been working at Kahnawake Language and Cultural Center to help revitalize the Mohawk language.
My parents were speakers, but I didn't even know they were speakers. It was hidden. So it became something that was proven to us that there's no value in it, so it became a hidden language.
Now her work to put value back into the language will have a new home at the cultural center called Kahnawake.
So the language center is going to be right there.
Kahnawake launched its final phase of the project's fundraising campaign at the end of September.
It is such a huge project, the biggest project that Kahnawake has ever undertaken.
For many in the community, the center will help heal the loss of culture created by residential schools and day schools.
It was frowned upon to speak our language. Children were even, spanked and beaten as a result of speaking our language. So it did its job in terms of that breakage of language transmission, but now it's our responsibility to make sure we get it back on track.
There's a lot of people in our community who are so removed from understanding our teachings, and it's not their fault, and I think we have to be gentle with each other.
Kasanahue Sky Deer has been part of the development of the new Cultural Arts Center.
The building will be that central hub of language transmission between elders and youth.
This is the main entrance, so follow me.
The new center will also offer a museum, a performing arts center, and even a longhouse.
We have half a longhouse inside as well.
The building also offers the chance for Kahnawake Language School to expand, with plans for extended hours and more staff.
Within the new building, we planned for growth, so we have a third classroom.
This is our amphitheater.
Philip says the focus will be to move students from the beginner and intermediate stages to become advanced speakers of the Mohawk language. The center is set to open in spring of 2026. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Kahnawake, Mohawk Territory.
Bill 127 has become law in Nova Scotia. It finished being debated Thursday evening in the province's legislature and received royal assent today. Now, Mi'kmaq land protectors claim the legislation will criminalize them. Our APTN video journalist Angel Moore brings us this update.
It's quiet here at the Mi'kmaq Land Protectors community at Hunters Mountain, Unamagi, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton, as the province's Conservative government passed Bill 127. It would make it illegal to block access and have structures on forest roads. Those who block access could face up to 6 months in jail and a $50,000 fine. Land protector Gugukwis Wokwis says it does not matter that the bill has now become law.
They can try to cross our cedar line and stuff, but we're not going anywhere. This bill passing through legislation and stuff like that doesn't mean nothing to me anyway. I'm staying here.
This comes after Treaty Day celebrations at Hunters Mountain, where land protectors have been for the last 4 weeks to prevent the forest from being clear-cut. Marshall has a message to Nova Scotia's Premier and the province's leading corporate family.
We're celebrating Treaty Day. We're celebrating our treaty rights. And Tim Houston can go lick the boots of J.D. Irving all he wants because we're not going anywhere.
That is Donald Marshall. His father was Donald Marshall Jr., whose victory in court recognized the Mi'kmaq treaty right to harvest. Now the Mi'kmaq are once again protecting their rights. The road up to Hunters Mountain is not blocked. The Mi'kmaq have set up a checkpoint with a cedar line, and the structures they set up to live in are off to the side of the road. Land and Water Protector Michelle Paul says the bill violates Mi'kmaq inherent rights.
The people will stay here like the stars are stuck in the sky. They're not going to move as they shouldn't, because our treaties say so. We should be unhindered, we should be unmolested, and free to roam in our territories and our homelands.
I won't quit. My people won't quit. We're not going anywheres.
At a press conference Friday morning, a reporter asked Premier Tim Houston if he would like to see chainsaws back on Hunters Mountain.
I've heard a number of things on Hunters Mountain, but I know also in speaking to a number of community leaders that there's more information that's necessary to get out through the community, because those forestry practices have been developed in conjunction with the Mi'kmaq.
Meanwhile, the Mi'kmaq land protectors say they're building a permanent community here. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Hunters Mountain, Unamagi.
The Canadian Native Friendship Centre in Edmonton held a community giveaway on Friday. The centre says they have been working to improve the lives of Indigenous people living in Edmonton and surrounding areas since 1962. Dozens of people lined up to be one of the first to have a look at what the Friendship Centre was giving away. Held about every 2 months with donated items, the giveaways offer a wide assortment of items, essential and useful items for the home and for children. Lonnie Pruden managed the event for the center.
Oh my gosh, so much stuff. It really depends on the donations, but sometimes there's food items, clothing items, books, school supplies, household items, decor items. Anything you can think of, we probably have it. We do the giveaways, it's for the community, and anybody's welcome to come, and we accept donations if you want to donate anything to us.
2 artists are the finalists for this year's Sobey Awards. That story when we come back. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. An autumn sunset over the Red River. Alicia Dawn sent in this picture from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Thanks for sharing, Alicia. If you want to be featured as our photo of the day, email your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Time now for tomorrow's weather forecast. Thanks for staying with us. St. John's 15 in rain, Charlottetown 17. Nain 6, Happy Valley Goose Bay +9. Quebec City 20, Saguenay 16. Ottawa 20, Sault Ste. Marie 27 and sunny. Timmins 24, Thunder Bay 23. Showers in Churchill at 12, God's Lake 12. 17 in Gimli, Barons River 14. Saskatoon 13, sunny in Regina at 15. Buffalo Narrows 12, Uranium City 5. High Level 10, Fort McMurray showers in 10. Medicine Hat 13, Calgary 9. Tofino 14, Vancouver 12. 12 in Fort Nelson, Smithers 8 and sunny. Old Crow 0, Whitehorse +10.
Wrigley 5, Showers in Trout Lake at 8.
Two Indigenous artists have made the final cut for the prestigious 2025 Sobey Art Award. The winning recipient will be selected in November, and it comes with a cash prize of $100,000. The two nominees, Tanya Willard and Teralik Duffy, were also in Ottawa this week for the opening of a display of their works at the National Gallery of Canada. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
Tanya Willard is a Spamok multidisciplinary artist from British Columbia who is the nominee for the Pacific region. Her work weaves traditional First Nations artwork with contemporary Western influences.
I think what I look to is basketry artists in my community and in the Plateau region who use traditional art forms in very innovative ways at the immediate kind of contact with settler cultures. They adapted and innovated into new forms, and that's what we continue to do today. So we take the gifts that come from our land, the gifts that come from our cultures and languages, and we as contemporary people, remix them to reflect our realities.
I like the parallels between my two worlds.
Teralik Duffy is also a multidisciplinary artist. She's from Nunavut and is the nominee for the Circumpolar region. She stretches the concept of what has typically been thought of as Inuit art by incorporating Western pop culture elements.
There's this idea sometimes that Inuk culture is only like Inukshuks or Kamutiks or Igloo, and there's so much depth there beyond that. And then just modern life, we're so inundated with product, and it's a very consumer-based life. We were colonized by condiments, literally colonized by a department store, like not even a country really, like the Hudson Bay Company, very trade-based, so like products, we're surrounded by them.
Willard says she hopes her nomination encourages other young Indigenous artists to pursue their dreams.
Yeah, I want to encourage all the young budding artists out there. I want to encourage all our Indigenous kids and teens and youth out there who are dreaming of art. I was one of those kids and never thought that I would be here today, and especially growing up in a small town or those who are in remote and rural reserve areas. But our creativity and our expression is part of our power, and who knows where it can take you.
Well, Duffy says she owes a debt of gratitude to the Inuit artists who came before and have allowed her to create the pieces of work she does.
I always like to do a little nod to Annie Putugup and the Inuit artists that have really paved the way. They're the ones that changed even my view of Inuit art as an Inuk person. Like Inuk art or Inuit art can be anything. It doesn't have to be pigeonholed into what maybe a Southern audience wants from you.
There are 6 finalists for the Sobey Art Award. The winner will be chosen during a ceremony on November 8th at the National Gallery. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Friday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right after this newscast, is when you get to catch our French broadcast, Nouvelle Nationale, hosted by our Kim Sullivan. She joins us now with a glimpse at tonight's episode.
Hey, Kristen, we will, of course, talk about this emotionally charged week with Joyce Echaquan's commemoration and DTR, but we also bring you the story of an ambitious 21-year-old Innu who wants to tackle the issue of stray dogs within Indigenous communities. Plus, we get to meet a young Indigenous opera singer and a Mohawk violinist about to take the stage with the Classical Symphony this weekend. Don't miss it. It's all happening at 6:30 Eastern tonight.
Thank you, Kim, and that's your evening newscast for this Friday, October 3rd. We're back for your weekend newscast on Saturday, same time, and next Monday on 12 p.m. Winnipeg time. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masi cho kwana. Thank you for watching and have a safe weekend with family. Ekse.